In this video, we're going to talk about 10 different kinds of unique charts that you can set up in SharePoint. In order to set up these SharePoints, you do not need to install any software, and you don't need to use any other resources in terms of other applications that you're going to run. I'm going to show you these examples and show you exactly how you can set this up in your own SharePoint in this video. So now let's get SharePoint smart. All right, here I am in SharePoint Online, and we're going to go to our examples first. I'm going to show you 10 different kinds of charts that you can set up directly in SharePoint, and then we'll talk about how you can use this to make charts like these in your own SharePoint. So the first one I'm going to go into is an org chart. These are real popular to show the hierarchy in your own organization in terms of who the managers are and who the workers are on various teams. You can see this just pulls in profile information from SharePoint. It works with the SharePoint list. That's all you need for all of these charts that I'm showing. And it shows boxes and we have a diagram. And that all just comes from SharePoint list data, which I have right here. So that's the org chart. The next one we're going to go to is a bubble chart. So this is similar to line charts or bar charts that you might do, but in this case we've got plot points on our chart, and then we've got a circle which changes in size according to a value. So this allows us to work with 3 dimensions of data. We can have an X coordinate, a Y coordinate, and then also a third Z coordinate, if you will, which corresponds to the size of those. And this is what is referred to as a bubble chart. You can see the key on the top tells us what these different color circles correspond to. So that's our bubble chart. The next one we'll get to is the flowchart diagram. And this can be done again with SharePoint list data. And we're able to draw shapes in SharePoint and change colors and then map out a process. And this lets us to have an editor where we can select different values, and this will show directly in a SharePoint list view. The next one we're going to look at is a process diagram, which also uses SharePoint list data, but it's dynamically rendered according to information that we provide. So in our SharePoint list record, we give it some information to let us know how these different shapes correspond to each other, and then it will automatically draw a diagram from there. Next two are closely related. We've got the pyramid chart, which shows stacked data, which is going to change in size according to the different values. And then at the very top, we're going to typically have the smallest value, and then at the bottom, we're going to have the largest value. That's usually how this would be organized, and this is known as a pyramid chart. The next one that we've got is a funnel chart, and this is an inverted pyramid. Now this is typical when you're thinking about a process in which there is less and less as you go through various stages. So sales is a typical example of that. You may have thousands of prospects, and then you set up calls with them, and there's less of those, and then you go to a next meeting and so on. And that's how you come up with the funnel concept. And this works with SharePoint list data, just like all of these charts that I'm showing. Next one is a heat map. This can let you take a SharePoint list and have the background color values change according to a range that you have. In this case, we're going from 0 to 200, and it helps to show a progression. So oftentimes you think in terms of cold and hot with the heat map. We're most used to seeing this kind of concept when we're looking at the weather forecast, but this can translate into other concepts as well. So this is a regular SharePoint list, but the background colors of those values change on a gradient scale going from blue to red. So that's the heat map. Next one is a scatter plot. This is somewhat related to the bubble chart we saw earlier. And this allows us to identify a trend with a lot of data points. So we may have lots and lots of different entries of data, and we want to see a trend, and that will help illustrate a pattern for us. So it's just X and Y plot points that show in a chart. And this comes from my SharePoint list data, which you see right here. That's all you need in order to have a chart like this in SharePoint. Next one is the timeline. So if you've got dates that you want to illustrate, want to show that progress in a timeline, you can also do that with SharePoint list records. And you can see we've got letter markers appearing on our timeline, which has a start at the beginning of 2024 and ending at the end of 2024. And then we've got some labels describing those events along the course of our timeline. And then the last chart we're going to show in our video is a word cloud. This is a creative concept that can take data from something that people have written or across multiple records and show us different size words depending on how often something is used. So if you look in here, this just takes words from the Gettysburg Address, just as a silly example. This is something creative you could do, and you could put on a SharePoint landing page. So those are 10 different kinds of unique charts that you could set up in SharePoint. So how is it that you can do that? Because of course you cannot do that with out-of-the-box SharePoint. If you go to the SharePointDashboards.com site, all the tools you need are here. And in order to get to that, just click on Get Started. And in the very first section on this gallery page, you're going to see tiles for all kinds of different charting examples. There are lots of charts you can do. We just looked at 10 examples of those, but there's more than 20 different kinds of charting templates that we can use. And in order to tap into those, we just click on whichever template that we want to do, and it will give us the instructions right there on the page. As far as using these, it's simple copy and paste over to your SharePoint environment. I can, of course, adjust the settings to control the appearance of all my charts, including the background colors, borders, the text, everything about the look and feel of all these charts you can do here. You can try out these tools for free just by clicking on the Start Free option. That will allow you access to 21 free templates. And then if you want to go on and use the charting toolkit that's part of the subscription, which is including more than 200 different kinds of templates that you can do. This video focused on the charting templates, but there's all kinds of indicators for status and dates, all kinds of different things. You can browse through that on the gallery page. So that's everything I wanted to show you in this video. If you click links below the video, you'll find examples of other kind of charts if you're interested in doing charting in SharePoint. In order to take advantage of this, you only need one license just for the person setting up charts. So this is a great way to have access to a charting tool so you can do visualization of data from your SharePoint lists. I hope you found that interesting, and I hope you're able to set up some cool charts in your own SharePoint environment. Good luck.